Hey, this is Robert Monroe, and I am here with another practical guide. Today, we're going to talk about how to play for church, specifically modern church, and really talking about basically any churches that are doing band, Christian contemporary, that sort of thing. This is kind of in the Goldilocks zone. What do I mean by that? I mean that it's not hard enough music for people to really care about wanting to break it down, but there are so many intricacies that I feel like are missing. So you find people a lot using these extremely basic techniques that they learned that are very beginner, and they're playing and then they're just letting the tracks do the rest of the work, and it's just kind of a mess. And in my opinion, it just doesn't feel very good. So I want to give you and equip you with what you need to go from 0 to 60. Hey, I play my instrument a little bit, but I'd love to play for church and actually enjoy myself and wow people with it a little bit. I know what the point is to be honoring God, but hey, you can show off the talents He gave you while you're doing it. So the goal is to have a practical plan on how to get good at Christian contemporary music. I'm going to show you what to practice and what to do at every skill level. This is targeted to intermediate musicians who probably have some degree of comfort to their instrument already, a year or two under your belt, probably at least. And there's going to be small parts that are going to be piano specific because that is my main instrument. But in reality, this could be used by anybody for the most part. Here is the basic overview. I'm going to give you all the goods right away. You only have been listening for less than 2 minutes, and I'm going to tell you the good part you can be done after this. And that is, you just need to play along with one worship tune every day. That's it. That's it. This is your sign. If you've been going, man, it'd be nice to play for church, but I don't know. It's been 10 years since I picked up my instrument, or I've only been playing for a year. Guess what? In 3 months, I guarantee you are going to be as good or better than anybody else on your worship team if you just play a worship tune every single day. Now, let's get into the juicy details because that's probably not enough information for you. So I want to give you a whole heck of a lot more that you can really dive into and really get used to. A few things that are going to help. I would try to play with recordings and in the original key if possible. You want to have songs that your church specifically does or songs that you are specifically interested in playing. That's going to make it more applicable and more tangible for you and give you some direction instead of just like popping on YouTube and being like, Christian contemporary music? ? No. Just start making an Apple Music playlist or a Spotify or YouTube playlist of the tunes that your church does. Don't worry, it won't take you long to develop a killer list. Let's define some terms, and then we're going to do a deep dive kind of in an order of difficulty. We're just going to start building it. I know I was doing this first, but we're going to actually build up every step, starting from a very basic level where if you get that down, you'd be ready to play for church, no problem. But then we go up another layer, and then you're even better. And then we're going to go all the way until I'm talking to the advanced folks that think that church is the most boring place to play. I'm calling you out. We're going to give you some stuff to do too. Let's define some terms. Quick fire. Again, if this is too fast, slow the video down, leave a comment below. Here we go. Pads. What in the world does pads mean? Pads mean when you are holding out a chord as long as possible. You got one chord, then you hold it to the next chord. It's also a a specific type of sound on the keyboard, but that's what you're doing. When someone says, hey, pad here, they just mean hold the sound out and not move very much. Comping. This is a style of playing that involves rhythm. So if you find that there is nothing that's feeling the beat, maybe the drummer is off for the weekend and the guitarist is gone, well, it's up to you as the piano player to comp. The idea of comping is accompanying. It comes from a jazz background, but people still use it in worship. Underscore. Underscore is the practice of playing underneath someone talking. There are so many different ways of doing this, and we'll get into them a bit later. But the gist is you want to play something simple and non-distracting, yet emotionally particular to the thing that the speaker is talking about. Leads. These are the parts in the music. They could be a vocal lead, meaning the part that someone's singing, or they could also be a lead, like a guitar lead that's in the song, or a spot to play a lead, just a random melody, maybe even improvised. Parts. You probably already know what parts are, but we're going to talk about it a lot, so we need to throw that in there. This could be the vocal parts, soprano, alto, tenor, bass. If you don't know what that is, look it up. Or it could be parts in terms of, oh, hey, you're going to do the rhythm part, you're going to do the bass part, you're going to do the drums. It's just a word that gets thrown around a lot on church. So parts. Ableton. This is a program people use all the time for setting up the next thing. Click track. This is the thing in your ears that goes doot, 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 and keeps you in time. If you don't know what that is and you're playing with a church that uses in-ears, please ask them what it is and turn it up. Everyone will thank you for doing that. Guide track. This is, again, the thing in your ears that goes intro, 2, 3, 4. Again, good thing to look at your in-ear monitor and crank that sucker up. Stems. These are the different parts pre-recorded that churches tend to use to buffer the sound, make it feel a lot bigger. Have you ever been at a church and you're looking for the string player because there's all these amazing strings and you want to thank them for playing for church, but you can't find them? They are a stem. They're basically just pre-recorded music that the band is playing along with. In-ear monitors. These are both the things that go in your ears like headphones, but also typically a unit that is nearby each station where you can adjust the monitor mix, so that you know what you're listening to in your ears. More on that later. Verse. This is the part of the song where you say a bunch of words and the music kind of stays the same and you just talk through a whole story. That's really what that is. The chorus. That's the part of the song that people are just singing the same thing over and over and over again. The bridge. This is the part of the song where the music and the words are different, and in Christian contemporary music is almost always a really epic portion where we have a big build. Almost always bridges are big builds. Things you should know. This is where we start to transition from defining terms to just general things you probably should know before you even start on the first rung of figuring this stuff out. All your major and minor triads, which are your basic 3-note chords. C major, F minor, D minor, stuff like that. The Nashville number system. Let me give you a little bit more for this. The Nashville number system is a way of categorizing scale degrees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. If you know do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. It's another way of doing that, but is more applicable to playing chords than to singing, which is why we use numbers. Why does this matter? This lets you transpose songs and learn songs extremely quickly. So I highly encourage you to get familiar with the Nashville number system. Is it necessary to learn before you start playing for worship? No, it's not, but it does really help. And then the final thing that also really, really helps is scales. Again, not necessary. Chords, necessary. Nashville number system, not necessary. Scales, not necessary. Okay, let's start getting into your practice strategy. You got that song queued up. Hopefully you have a chart that maybe even your church uses, and then you have the song recording. Well, if you don't have the chart, you can Google to find that. And the cool thing about worship music is most of them have charts easily available in the key of the original recording. More so than rock and roll, more so than pop. It's incredible the resources that are out there for worship music. Once you have your materials assembled, the goal is going to be simple. We just want to play along to the best of our ability with the recording. If you are just starting out and you're brand new to worship music, all that is going to be playing a single note, the bass note in your left hand on the piano, and then the chord in your right hand, however you want to play it. Root position, inversions does not matter. You want to play that right away as pads to begin with. So that means that you just hold and play down, and then you move to the next thing and hold and play down, and then next chord change and hold and play down. Use your ears to determine whether you're going at the same pace as the recording. Also, you can use the lyrics. Typically, those charts are written in a way that the lyrics are close by, but don't be fooled. Some charts are not actually super accurate, so your ears are really the final test. Already, you're going like, wow, this is a no-brainer. And also, what if I play guitar or bass or drums? Well, insert in your particular basic level for that instrument. If you play guitar, it's just strum that chord, get used to those shapes, try to make sure every string sounds. If you're playing bass, make sure that you know where those letters are. That may be very hard if you just started playing bass because you might be used to the numbers, the frets. Do not, I repeat, do not learn the worship songs as the fret numbers. It is a short-term solution, and you will be frustrated at yourself for giving in. Just learn the letters. It's not that hard. You can learn the letters on bass. There's only 4 strings. Come on. Drums. It's the grooves. Get those grooves in your ears. And I'm probably not going to have much more to say to you, but if you're enjoying this, continue listening. You may get something out of it. What are the next steps? The next steps are going to be just, again, incrementally adding in changes in difficulty. The first thing that I would think about doing is practicing how to pad versus comp versus lead and learning to be sensitive of when to do which thing. What do I mean by that? Well, at the beginning, you may just play the chords 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then when you want to comp, then you may learn to do a rhythm, right? And then later on, you may learn how to play the chord in your left hand and then do lead. All of these things are very crucial to worship music and have their place. When should you be doing each of those things? Well, 90% of the time, except for breakdown sections, you really want one person to be doing each of them, but not any two people doing the same thing. So if you've got, let's say, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, and piano, you would want one of those people, typically acoustic guitar, doing the comping. You would want one of those people, typically piano, padding. And then you'd want one of those people, typically electric guitar, playing lead. Now, I said in that example, those are the typical roles, but they can flip-flop around and change. Some songs it's set, right? You playing Cornerstone? Guess what? As the piano player, you're the lead, playing the ba-da-da-da-da-da part. So we started out super basic, just playing the chords and padding. Then we added in the difference between padding, comping, and playing the leads. Now we're going to add in improv. We want to cover how to play diatonically, which means just in the key. That's all it means. So if you're in C major, it's playing all the notes in C major. Then we want to do pentatonics. Those are the 5-note scales. C major pentatonic, right? C minor pentatonic. And then we even want to do chromatic, so all of the notes and when it's appropriate to do so. Just like inversions, this is huge. We just went from something you can learn in maybe a month to inversions, which is something if you're really dedicated and really give a lot of time to it, maybe in 6 months, to improvising, which can literally be a lifelong study. Nevertheless, I highly encourage you to approach and work on how to improvise in this way, because it will really help your worship playing. Stylistic concerns are the next thing on my list, again on this tier list of increasingly harder things to cover. What do I mean by stylistic concerns? Well, there are a ton of styles of music that are either church styles of music or are related to church styles of music. You've got gospel, you have rock, you have classical, you have jazz, you have bluegrass, you have blues. All of these styles, even punk, hip hop, all of these styles actually find their way into church music. The better you are at incorporating these styles in your playing and know what sounds make people think of these styles of music, the better off you're going to be in a church service. There are often times in church where we're unaware of the effect we're having because we're ignorant of the styles of music that we are trying to express. So I highly encourage you to seek out listening to those styles and playing them so that you get more familiar of how to be a stylistic chameleon. This to me is the musical equivalent of Paul saying to the Greek, I was a Greek, to the Romans, a Roman. Hey, it's biblical. Substitutions. What I'm talking here is not substitutionary atonement, it's substitutions of chords. You can take a 1 chord and make it a 6 chord. If you don't know what I mean, this is the part you need to get hip to. You can also do crazy stuff like use a flat 7 chord instead of a 5 chord, or a minor 4 instead of a regular major 4. All of this stuff is super niche and has very specific moments in which it is applicable, but as you get more savvy, you do need to keep diving into these. Now, be careful with substitutions. Sometimes you can do them with no other effect on the other musicians and the singers. Other times you need full cooperation of the entire band to pull them off. Knowing everyone else's parts. I am starting to talk to the cream of the crop, the people who have been playing at church for 4 or 5 years and getting bored. Learn every single part. If you don't know the drum part, hop on the drums and start learning the drum part. If you don't know how to sing, start teaching yourself how to sing. Why? Why do you care? Well, it is going to make you better at the part you play, and even more important than that, a better communicator. You will be able to talk to people in a knowledgeable way that will improve everyone's experience at church. And that really goes down to, what is the actual goal of playing for church? Everyone may have a different goal. I know what mine is, and that is to glorify God with my talents. And that does not mean cutting myself down. That doesn't mean underplaying. That means going nuts and going crazy for the glory of God. That may not be your personal interpretation, and that's fine, but this is my video, so we're going to talk about it the way I want. A couple other quick fire topics before we are done. Underscoring. Underscoring is a huge, important skill, especially for piano or guitar. And what you do is you're playing underneath someone talking. What I would encourage you to do, easiest way to do this to start, is to pick a song, preferably one from the service, and just to play it slowly on a simple pad or sustained sound effect. Option number 2, pick 2 or 3 diatonic chords that you're comfortable with, go back and forth nice and slowly. As you get more and more comfortable, what you'll learn is you can predict when they're going to start talking about something a little more somber, a little more serious. And that's when you throw it over maybe to minor for a second. One final thing to think about underscoring is you want to have always a thought in your head of what's going to happen next so that you can conclude at the same time that they conclude and be sensitive to that. Don't ever be caught off guard thinking about something else, thinking about what you're going to eat later that day. No, you always need to be in that moment when you're underscoring and being ready to set up the key for the next song, whatever needs to happen. Special topic number 2, and that is in-ear mixes. Now, this could be a whole separate video, but I really want to cover it quick because it happens so much in church. You got your in-ear mix. The first thing you're going to do is turn off anything that gives you crowd noise. Sometimes in-ear mixes have a knob on there that's really literally a room microphone. It's very tempting to turn that up because immediately you'll be able to hear stuff. Please turn that all the way down. You got crowd mics at your church, turn those suckers to 0. The next thing you want to do is you want to turn yourself up a lot so you can hear yourself well. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to turn the click track and the guide track up higher than yourself. Then you're going to want to take the stems and put them to a nominal volume, just barely in your hearing range. Finally, you want to find who the music director is, whoever is talking in your ears, calling shots, thing you need to hear to know what you're doing in the song. You want to crank them up pretty high. And then you want to find who's singing lead, and you want to crank them up a bit. Everyone else, it's just to taste, whatever you want. And remember, it's easier to turn stuff down than to turn stuff up in an in-ear mix. So adjust accordingly. Don't kill your ears. You want to keep your ear health good. And the truth is, in-ear monitors will wreck your hearing if you're not careful. Last but not least, what if you are bored at church? Well, I'm going to say that is your problem, because you can take any worship song and turn it into a tour de force of every single challenge you can imagine, and do it in a way that's not even overplaying or distracting. On that note, I'm going to end this video, and we're just going to have maybe about 30 seconds to a minute of me just jamming out on Blessed Be Your Name, which is one of those tunes that I'm sure if you've been playing at church for a while you're sick of, and just showing you what you could do for that. Until next time, I hope you enjoyed it. Comment if I missed anything. Let me know if this video is helpful for you, and until next time, I hope you have a great day. See ya.